Hi everybody and welcome back to Love English. I'm Sabrah and I'm a British University English teacher. In today's lesson we are going to learn 30 advanced verbs. So in my previous video, 50 advanced verbs, lots of you said that you really enjoyed that and that was really useful, and so you asked me for a part 2. So this is basically what this is, guys. Your wish is my command. Here it is, another lesson on advanced verbs. So basically today we're going to be looking at synonyms of, again, common verbs, but looking at some more interesting alternatives to build up your vocabulary and also your understanding of everyday English. Guys, you've heard us say this a million times, so you can probably say it along with me if you like. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell so that you get notified when we upload a video and you can be one of the first to watch it. You can also follow us on our social media, which has additional information about English, vocabulary, and things like that. So do follow us on there as well. One thing very quickly before we get started, guys, is that the Lingoda Marathon is still on. You can still sign up for the Lingoda Marathon. So the Lingoda Marathon, guys, is where you sign up to either do a half marathon or a full marathon, meaning that you will have 30 hours of classes or 15 hours of classes per month. And if you complete your time on the marathon, then you can actually get a full refund. That is right, you get all your money back. So you need to sign up, guys, by May the 13th. And if you don't want to pay the registration fee of €5, you can use our code SPEAK12. And the link to join is down below in the description box. So why not try doing that, guys? Improving on perhaps even a daily basis with an experienced native English teacher. And if you complete all your classes, you get all your money back. For more information on that, guys, and for the terms and conditions, again, check below. Right, let's get started. 30 advanced verbs. So we're going to start by looking at synonyms of the verb to laugh. So number 1 is to chuckle. To chuckle. And this is a little laugh. It's not a very loud laugh, it's not a very long laugh, it's more of a little laugh. Often we chuckle to ourselves about something when we think other people don't know it, when it's kind of a secret or something only we know, for example. But we can also chuckle to others if we laugh in a way which is shorter than normal and perhaps a little bit cuter as well. So I have an example sentence for you guys. Leila chuckled to herself as she served her husband an extra spicy dinner. Number 2. Number 2 is to roar. Now you're probably thinking, isn't this the sound that a lion or a tiger makes? And yes, that is correct. But there is a second meaning of to roar. We can use it meaning to laugh a lot, to laugh very heartily, to laugh with all our being because we find something so funny. We roar with laughter. So an example sentence might be, the audience roared with laughter at the comedian's jokes. The audience roared with laughter at the comedian's jokes. Number 3 is to giggle, to giggle. This is perhaps used more to describe how women laugh and how children and babies laugh than men. Men can giggle as well, but often men tend to laugh in a bit more of a louder, more hearty way. So giggle is a softer, sweeter laugh. It's something that particularly babies do, children do. So it's a slightly sweeter way to laugh, to giggle.
So I drove to work this morning and I had to stop for coffee.
Number 4 is to hoot, to hoot. And to hoot, again, this is often a sound which we describe an animal making. An owl will hoot, for example. But we can also use hoot to describe laughing, to describe when you're laughing a lot, something is very fun. You can actually describe something as a hoot, so it can also be a noun. You could say Disneyland is a hoot, it's so much fun, you're going to laugh a lot there, it's a hoot. And you can also say we hooted with laughter about something. Okay, now we're moving on to look at synonyms of the verb to sit. So number 5 is to slump, to slump. And if you slump, you sit in a very relaxed way. So if you slump, you kind of collapse heavily onto the sofa. Perhaps after a long week at work, you will come home and you'll slump on the sofa. You won't be sitting up in any way. You're really kind of, leaning back a lot and really, really relaxing. You can also slump if you're disappointed by something. It's when you collapse into yourself a little bit. You could say she slumped into her chair with disappointment. Number 6 is to lean, to lean. I did actually just mention this one, so if you didn't understand it then, you're going to understand it now. When we lean on something, we give it our weight. So we can lean against a wall, so the wall is taking our weight, so we can stand up. We can lean our elbow on the table. It's when we give our weight to something and it supports us.
Now lean back, lean back, lean back, lean back.
Okay, now we're moving on to look at synonyms of manners of speaking, ways to talk and communicate. So number 7 is to banter. To banter is when you have playful and witty exchanges between people. So for example, in a couple, couples will often banter with each other, and it's where they make jokes with each other, and sometimes these jokes can be about the other one. So they'll tease each other, if you like. If you don't know the meaning of tease, it's coming later. But they will joke with each other, they will play around, and often it's about who can be funnier. So it's like verbal ping pong, but in a fun way. So number 8 is to digress, to digress. And this is where you keep going off the topic that is the main point. You go off onto other subjects, onto tangents, and it's difficult for you to stay on the main topic. You digress. In fact, people will often say, oh, I've digressed. Let's come back to the main subject, something like this. So number 9 is to declare, to declare. And this is when you make something known formally or officially. It's a little bit like an announcement, but it can also be when you want to say something with emphasis or with authority. So this word is mainly used to describe people in authority declaring something, so saying something officially or formally or emphasizing it. So for example, the police can declare something. Legal systems can declare things. So an example sentence could be, the Prime Minister has now declared that in Britain there will only be a 4-day working week. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, the next 2 verbs I have for you are both synonyms of the verb to delay, to delay. So number 10 is to procrastinate, to procrastinate. So if you procrastinate, you really put off the main task that you need to do. Obviously, you don't want to do it because it's not something you find enjoyable. So instead of just being sensible and getting it out of the way and getting it finished, you delay it. You delay the pain of having to do it. And you do other things to fill your time so that you avoid doing the thing you need to do. Number 11 is very similar. It is to faff, to faff. So basically, to faff means to spend time doing silly or pointless tasks when you should really be getting on with the main thing. So often teenagers will faff around. Their parents will be telling them to hurry up and leave the house, but they'll say, oh, I've got to do this, or I'm just texting this person. And they're doing pointless tasks, wasting time, really, when they should be getting on and leaving. Okay, the next couple of verbs I have for you are synonyms of the verb to win. So number 12 is to triumph, to triumph. And this is quite an old-fashioned word, but you will still hear it in TV shows, for example, like Game of Thrones, or shows which are about history, things like that. So to triumph is basically where you win, yeah? You are triumphant, which is the adjective. So you might say the project was a real triumph, or the evening was a triumph, meaning it was very, very successful. Number 13 is to conquer, to conquer. Now to conquer means to gain control of or to subdue by force. So in history, many countries have conquered each other. England has been conquered many times by the Scandinavians, the Vikings, by the Romans, and by the French, by the Normans. So this is when you took control of something and it then belonged to you. But in everyday usage, we can talk about needing to conquer something within us, for example. So you might say, I really need to conquer my fear of heights. Number 14 is to fluke, to fluke. If you fluke something, you pass it or you win it seemingly by accident. It seems like it was by accident. So for example, if you don't revise for an exam, you don't really study and you're expecting not to do very well, and then you see your result and you've passed, you'd be like, oh my goodness, that was such a fluke. I fluked it, meaning somehow you managed it without trying or putting in much effort. So to fluke something. Okay, now we're moving on to synonyms of the verb to confuse, to confuse. So number 15 is to baffle, to baffle. So when we're baffled, we're so confused that we don't really know what's going on. We can't quite make sense of the situation. So sometimes you might hear that science has been baffled by a particular phenomenon, meaning they can't make sense of it. Or for example, doctors have been baffled by an illness. I have a good sentence for you guys. As many of you know, I'm a Liverpool football team fan. And recently we beat Barcelona 4-0 in the Champions League. And Barcelona were baffled by this. So Barcelona were baffled when Liverpool beat them 4-0. Yay! So number 16 is to dumbfound, to dumbfound. And to dumbfound someone, or to be dumbfounded, that's the adjective, means to be so surprised by something, so confused, that you almost can't actually speak. You're like, you seem to lose the ability to speak, as dumb means unable to speak, the disability of not being able to speak. So here, you're so surprised by something that you're dumbfounded, you're without words. So we will use this in extreme circumstances, really. So it can be something good or it can be something bad, but either way, you're very surprised and confused by it. Number 17, this is really a synonym for being surprised. And this is to be astonished, to be astonished. If you're astonished, it's usually in a good way. You so didn't expect this to happen. So you can say something is astonishing. It's usually something that is quite amazing as well if you're astonished. So for example, if Leila said to me tomorrow, Sabrah, I'm pregnant and I'm having twins, I would be astonished. I'd be so surprised in a good way and a bad way. I'd be astonished thinking, my goodness, who's going to do all the work for Love English? So this kind of thing is when you are astonished. Okay, now we're moving on to look at synonyms of to joke. But some of these are perhaps joking in a way that isn't so nice, isn't so good. So number 18 is to tease. And to tease can either be in a nice way, in a fun and playful way, where you're joking with each other and perhaps you're having banter together. So when you're just making fun, but it is in a very light-hearted way. Number 19 is to mock, to mock. And this is where you make fun of somebody in a nasty way. Mocking is not a good thing. If you mock someone, you show that you don't believe in them. In some way, you have contempt for them, so you think they're a bit ridiculous, perhaps. So in the Houses of Parliament in England, lots of politicians will mock each other. They will say, oh, your idea is ridiculous, or, oh, it's so funny what you want to do because it's so, nonsensical, this kind of thing. And they will mock each other. Number 20 is to sneer, to sneer. To sneer is again where you show contempt, but it's particularly with your facial expression. So if you sneer, you often will raise part of your upper lip and be a bit like, really? I don't think you're going to be able to do that. You'll never run the marathon. What? So it's where you're showing that you don't believe in somebody again, a bit like mocking, but you really show it with your face, that you really just think, oh, what are they talking about? Why are they being so ridiculous? One of my favourite cartoons when I was a child was called The Raccoons. I don't know if you guys had that in your country. Please do comment below and tell me if you did. And in The Raccoons, the bad guy was called Cyril Sneer. And he was called that because his facial expression was kind of in a sneer, and he wasn't a very nice person.
Life would be simple in the forest except for Cyril Sneer.
So number 21 is to flee, to flee. And if you flee, people are really fleeing danger. So they are running away from danger. They don't necessarily want to leave, but they have to, and they have to go quickly because they are in danger. And this can also be used to describe animals as well. So animals can flee If they think there's going to be an earthquake or flooding, they will flee. So my example sentence for you guys is, the people had to flee when they realised the village was going to flood. Number 22 is a synonym of the verb to worry, and it is to fret. So if you fret, you're visibly worrying. You're kind of constantly and visibly worrying about something. So it's quite often that we'll say, oh, don't fret, it's going to be okay. Or please stop fretting about this. Really, it's going to be all right. So people might fret before exams, before any stressful situation. If they're afraid of flying, they might fret before the flight. So these next three verbs, they all express potential danger or worrying about something which is to come. So they don't really have a direct everyday synonym, but they're used quite frequently, so I thought they were important to include. So number 23 is to loom. So to loom is when something seems bigger than it actually is, and in some way it seems to be threatening something or potentially dangerous, or maybe making you feel uncomfortable. So if someone looms over you, this is when they're taller than you and they're almost intimidating you with their height as they look down on you. We can also say that dark clouds loomed in the sky. So you can say, oh, there was dark clouds looming in the sky. It's definitely going to rain later. And things that you're not looking forward to in the future can loom. So you might say, oh, my exams are looming. So number 24 is to threaten. And to threaten is when something could be potentially dangerous. So if someone threatens you, they say, if you don't do this, I'll do this to you. So they're kind of showing that they could be dangerous if you don't do what they want. But situations can threaten. So you could say an economic crisis is threatening, meaning there's the possibility it could happen. If these events happen, then it will actually happen.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
Number 25 is to dread something. And if you dread something, you really, really don't want this thing to happen. You're absolutely not looking forward to it at all. The idea of it is really scaring you or overwhelming you in some way, and so you are dreading it. You don't want it to happen. So we can dread exams, we can dread interviews, we can dread things which are perhaps scary. Okay, now we're moving on to synonyms of the verb to fall, to fall. And so number 26 is to slip, to slip. If you slip, you fall over, but it's because you were on a slippery surface. So you might just fall a little, or you might fall a lot and fall on your face, but it's because the surface was slippery, so meaning not steady, often wet. So for example, a banana skin, you can slip on a banana skin, or you can slip on ice because ice is slippery, or any kind of wet surface. There is actually a second meaning of the verb to slip. Now I'd like you to research that for homework, guys, and comment below and tell me what you think the second meaning is. So there's another meaning of the verb to slip. Tell me what you think that is. Number 27 is to trip, to trip. And when you trip, it's normally because there was something in your path and you didn't see it and you tripped over it. For example, it could be a tree root, a step. Something is there and you fall on it and you trip over. Number 28 is to stumble, to stumble. And this is when you don't walk steadily. So you're maybe not walking very steadily because you're in the wrong shoes, or you've had a bit too much to drink. So basically you're not walking steadily and you have a little fall, not a big fall, just a little fall, so you stumble. So number 29 and 30 are both synonyms of the verb to sleep. My favourite thing. So number 29 is to slumber, to slumber. And to slumber is deep sleep. So if you're slumbering, you're really in deep sleep. So often in fairy tales, you'll read that the princess was slumbering, or someone awoke her from her slumber, for example. So it's deep sleep. But we can still use it today. If someone is very tired and they're sleeping deeply, we can say, oh, he's still slumbering. He's so tired from his flight. He's slumbering. And number 30, the last one, is to doze, to doze. And this is light sleep, which can be a little bit on and off. So if you're dozing, you're definitely not in deep sleep. So sometimes people will doze on transport. So they have to keep staying a bit awake so that they don't miss their stop. So they'll doze. I have an example sentence for you here, guys. The mouse was happy when the cat dozed off, as it could finally go and eat the cheese. Okay, everybody, we have come to the end of those 30 advanced verbs. I really hope they help you, and I hope you build your vocabulary more with those verbs and start to use them instead of some of the more simple everyday verbs. If you'd like another video on this, guys, and to learn more advanced verbs, as believe me, there are more, then do tell me below in the comments. And also you can choose one of those verbs and try writing a practice sentence below in the comments. I promise that I will do my best to check it for you. Also guys, if you did like this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon on Love English. Bye bye!